Hey travelers, Chris here with another review. This one I'm really excited about. You already saw it in the thumbnail, but this is the Singapore Airlines flight B777 from Haneda to Tokyo in first class. Now this is especially interesting to me because I actually flew the business class flight, this exact same flight already. I was not the happiest about it, but I can't wait to show you how my experience this time with this first class flight was. So this is actually a short flight, around 6 hours, and you can see here the rough flight path over Taiwan, close by Philippines and Vietnam, all the way over to Singapore. Flight time of 6 hours means it's quite short. You cannot use up all the amenities and fun things during a flight, but nevertheless, let's see how it goes. Here we got to check in, and you can see already the beautiful 777-300 extended range. This is really Singapore Airlines workhorse. They have, I think, 23 units in their line, and here we then get to see where we're gonna spend the next 6 hours. And this is really a very private cabin, and you can see it here in the seating chart. First class means only 4 seats in this 1-2-1 arrangement. Now if you're a solo traveler, I strongly recommend you go for these window seats, but if you, like me, are traveling with someone, in my case with my wife, we opted to take the middle seats here, so this is 1C and 1D. Already on the seating chart you could see that the width of the seats is really quite wide, and you can see here it is very spacious. And of course, as is customs, once you start your flight, especially in first class, you get some champagne. Now, Singapore Airlines is actually offering 3 different kind of champagnes, all at around the same price level. You can see here the Cru, which is of course one of the classics. You do have 3 other ones. I will put up the menu here, and I definitely wanted to try out all 3 of them, so I did. Mind you, it was 9 AM in the morning, but I had to everything for the review, guys. But yeah, anyways, this is a really nice start to any flight. And I also like how it is presented here. It's really kind of celebrated, that it's poured in front of you, that they put the bottle next to you here on the on this kind of board here next to the screen. It's really nice. So then after one or a couple of glasses of champagne, let's have a look at the seat. You can see it here already, this like very wide leather seat with the cushion. And one thing I have to say, and this is super nitpicky, but it is quite a wide seat, and that means that you are actually not seated very like in place, and you can easily like scooch around a little bit. But I think nevertheless it's gorgeous. It's really comfortable, and there's also just a ton of storage, which I love. Here under the footrest, for example, you can see, for a comparison, my 20-liter backpack. You have this really big footrest, which is nice. I especially like this kind of diamond stitched leather. It just reminds me of like a nice luxury car, and I think it works great. You can also unfold the seat with some support kind of stuff here for the leg. I think that's quite helpful to give you a little bit more footing, especially since the seat is so wide, so you kind of want to be a bit more in place. Now, you can also see that in terms of space, it's really generous. I'm fairly tall, 1.90 m, and there's absolutely no issues here. I also like that there's this space in front of the screen that you can use. I think it's quite helpful to have, especially on the left side. There are magazine kind of storage area here where you have the in-flight menu. There's this little pocket here in this funky orange that you can close. It's lit up, and you have a couple of chargers with USB-A and USB-C, which is amazing, and a weird iPad connector that I never know what it is actually for. On the left side of the footrest you have this storage area, which is also great, and also on the left side of the screen you have the vanity mirror, which you might also know from the business class. On top of that, to the right side, you have an HDMI port, you have a full kind of universal power plug, which is really cool. You can configure your seat, as you can see here. There's also some reading lamps on both sides, where also on both sides you can plug in the headphones, which is a really cool idea in my opinion. Also on the left side, and you can again see, you can close up everything, which is cool, is this little kind of controller that you can either use standalone or you can use it to control your screen, so you will see that in a second. Then there's the seatbelt, which is a really heavy one. I'm not sure there's an airbag inside, I believe. That's why they're so thick. But anyway, it's quite okay. And then also there's this little headphone rest thingy next to your seat. And once you reach your seat, you already see here the Bang & Olufsen branded headphones, which I have to say were really excellent. I mean, this is what you would expect from the brand, I think. They were really comfortable. I wore them for a couple of hours, and then after, let's say, 4 or 5 hours, they became a little bit of a pain on my ears, but to be honest, that happens with any over-ear headphone, so I think that's not a bad thing, that's just unavoidable. The noise cancellation definitely worked really well, I have to say, so overall, I don't think you need to bring your own headphones, but of course you can always do that. I always have some backup AirPods just in case. The screen itself is also quite big. It's not the newest one. It's not like a 4K resolution. I think if you go really close by, you can tell that it's a bit like, low resolution. But that's, I think, fine. Overall, I think this is a super comfortable kind of place to lounge. One thing I have to say is that in terms of privacy, you will notice your seat neighbor's screen, for example, if you don't put up this divider, which you cannot do during start and landing at least. But it's definitely, I think, a better experience if you don't sit next to someone completely random, so better take the window seats here. Besides that, you also have this diamond stitch pattern on the really comfortable leather pillow. In general, I feel like the materials are really fantastic. I like the color scheme personally. It's a bit old school with the beige and brown tones, but it definitely feels very elegant. And you can also see this kind of pattern on the wall and this warm lighting. Personally, I think it works really well. Besides that, you will notice here on the seating chart that behind our seats there's a little bit of an empty space, and also in front there's quite a lot of stuff that's not directly related to the seat. As you can see here, for example, in front of it, this is actually where the bedding and the blankets and everything is being put. Also behind our seats you have this little kind of walkway, which especially the crew uses if they have to go between seats, and it doesn't feel extremely private, this seat, in a way that it is quite open. You don't have closed doors here like a lot of other suites, like first class seats. But I have to say, privacy-wise, it's still only a 4-seat kind of cabin, so at least in that regard, it's super private in a sense. And I also have to say that that means you have 2 cabin crew dedicated to only 4 people, which is an incredible ratio of service. You can see here a couple more shots of what it looks like when you're seated and how exposed you are. As you can see here, I had to really lean forward to even see my seat neighbor to the other side. It's also fairly spacious in that you don't have these overhead compartments in the middle and center, so it's very airy. So overall, I'm really happy with this seat. Now I want to quickly talk about the entertainment system, and if you're in any way familiar with Singapore Airlines, you know that they have a fantastic entertainment system. It's a lot of movies, English-speaking movies, but also other languages, a lot of, cinema releases and whatnot. So really anybody can find something to watch here. And as mentioned, you can control the TV by this little controller, which actually works quite well. A touchscreen wouldn't make sense, it's way too far forward. And you can also log into your Singapore Airlines KrisFlyer account to actually kind of synchronize the movies that you watched. Also, I have to mention that there is complimentary in-flight Wi-Fi also on this route. I tried it out. To be fair, it looks quite good in terms of the speed test, but for me it was quite spotty at times, so I didn't use it much, but hey, it's free at least. I also have to say that the service in general was really good. I think with this configuration where you have 4 passengers and 2 cabin crew, there's just a lot of time for the cabin crew to kind of interact with the passengers in a way. And I don't mean that in a way that they keep on bothering you, but rather that they are really good at sensing how much they should, talk to you, and if you'd rather be left alone or if you're looking to talk. And I think the service really was fantastic. The staff was so nice, very friendly, very knowledgeable. And yeah, really no complaints in that regard. As you could see also, we were given some nuts that were actually quite delicious, and this is to bridge the gap in preparation for the lunch, and I couldn't wait because of course that's kind of the highlight in first class, to have that. Now I used the book the cook system that you can use in business and first class to decide which main dish you want, but at first here is a amuse-bouche of satay sticks. If you're familiar with this is very common in Singapore, Malaysia, and I believe Indonesia, and it's different meats on stick with a peanut sauce, and it was fantastic. In terms of presentation, it's always hard to make this look nice, but it was really delicious and really the right way of a starter for me. Right after this, the table was set. There was a white tablecloth on the very big table, and there was also some proper cutlery, and I think this always elevates the dining experience so much if you have proper, porcelain or ceramic cutlery, and it looks really nice. So I was getting very excited for my starter here, and for this we would be looking at caviar with some blinis and some little condiments, side dishes. I have to say this was really outstanding. Now I'm not actively seeking out caviar usually in my private life, but I have to say I always very much enjoy it when it is being served here. You can see certain condiments, these little like pancake-like things, maybe not blinis actually, but really nice. And then this little jar of caviar with the silver spoon was really fantastic, I have to say. Shortly then after finishing this dish, it was time for the main meal. In my case, this was a Wagyu beef steak with potatoes and vegetables. And I have to say that one was honestly a little bit disappointing. Now this is complaining on a very high level, to be fair again. The meat was okay, it was just very well done, as you can see here, which is a bit of a pity for a Wagyu beef steak, but nevertheless it was very tasty. My wife had the lobster, which was also quite good. I think she was a lot happier with her choice, and I also tried this and it was really good. Lastly then, for dessert there was an option for fruits or cheese platter or I believe ice cream, and I went for the fruits. I have to say there's just something nice about having a nice mango on a flight, because that's something you fairly rarely see, and it was really good. One thing I have to highlight though afterwards, and we mentioned that to the cabin crew that we were actually on our way to Bali for our wedding. The cabin crew actually came and brought us another kind of little treat. You can see here, we managed to take a photo. They brought a little kind of eclair, I believe, with fresh fruits, and also these two bears, this bear couple, which is super cute. There was also a little card where the entire crew signed. So I feel like these are small things that just make the experience a lot more personal, so we were super happy with that. After finishing all the food, for me at least, it was time to get the table cleared. I wanted to really try out the bed, because that's quite crucial, I think, if you want to fly the same airplane on a longer flight. Now you can already see there's these like stowage compartments where you can get the bedding, the bedsheets and everything down. So I was really curious to see how that feels. Before that, just to mention that there was pajamas and an eye mask and socks and also slippers at the seat ready to go from the beginning. And there was also this Lalique branded kind of toiletries kit. So that's always super nice, I think, to have. I always like to collect those things. You can see here a couple of these products that are inside. There's also a version specifically for women. You can see that one here, which is a little bit more on the bright and colorful side. And I guess the inside creams and stuff is a bit more gendered here, I guess. One thing to the bathroom, it's not super big here, but it stayed absolutely immaculately clean during the entire flight. You can find also cloth tissues and also Lalique branded amenities in there as well. So now I asked actually for the bed to be made, and you can see just how long it takes. In a good way, it's almost a celebration of, putting really comfortable layers of blankets and pillows on there, and especially the pillows were absolutely fantastic, I have to say. I've never lied so comfortably on an airplane, so this was really cool. Again, when you think about the privacy, you can see it here a bit. You do notice people walking past you. They can, see you. So if that's something you mind, keep that in mind. But to be honest, there's hardly any foot traffic anyways, because there's only 4 people plus the crew. As mentioned, the pillows were extremely soft and you get 2 of them. Even with my 1.90 m, it was plenty of space, but just about barely, so I wouldn't have minded another 5 centimeters, but that's probably a fringe case. There's also this bedding on top of the seat, which makes it really comfortable, so I at least could sleep on the side without any issues, which is a really good thing. Unfortunately, in a way, it's only a 6-hour flight, so I just wanted to try it out, and I mostly just used the bed to kind of relax and watch the TV from there, which is actually quite doable and fairly comfortable with the leather all around you. I also started playing around with the seat a little bit to try out things. Here's the table. I have to say it's very sturdy and it's quite big, so if you want to get some work done, I think this is really good, especially with the Wi-Fi connection. There's also so many plugs, as shown earlier, that it's really easy to keep everything powered up quite easily. The chair itself has a kind of a lounge mode, which is fairly comfortable, I have to say. I quite like it, and even in this mode there's plenty of seating space, so you can really have a good relaxing time during your time. When we get close to Singapore, I ordered a coffee, and it's nice that they have a proper coffee machine also, so to have a cappuccino in the sky is always a nice feeling, especially when the alternative usually is a bit of a watery kind of coffee, water powder mixed. That felt definitely really good. And then unfortunately it was already time to land. It is a short flight. I don't know if it's always worth it to splurge for first class on such a short flight, but I think many of this is also applicable to any other 777 Boeing flights by Singapore Airlines. And I have to say, if it's anything like that, then you can definitely have a fantastic time there. It's a spacious seat, relaxing bed. The food is decent, although it could be a tiny little bit better. The crew is fantastic. Everything looks modern, feels modern. There's so much to like here, I have to say. So with that in mind, we arrived in Singapore. It was time to unfortunately head out of the airplane. It was very hard to say goodbye after such a nice experience. And that was it. So if you had this flight also, it would be super interesting to hear your thoughts and comments about it. And otherwise, guys, as always, I see you in the next one. So cheers.